All right, I suppose we can start, and anybody that's still in the bathroom will just have to listen really hard. All right, so this is the state of the KLI. We're going to let you know anything that's going on that we want to share with you, anything like that. There's not any big announcements to make, like with Duolingo or things like that in the past, but the KLI is constantly working on all sorts of little projects. And so I want to start by talking a little bit about how you can ask the KLI to make changes, because we hear a lot of times from people who are saying the website can be improved in this way, the KLI can be improved in this way, things like that. And those are all great suggestions, but you're talking to volunteers who are already overworked. We do not tend to react very well to someone saying, you should do this. That will take a lot more effort and work on your part. So I wanted to suggest, if anybody online or here does have things they'd like to see the KLI do, or would like to help the KLI, or would like to see some change, we welcome those suggestions. We also would like to see the KLI change and improve and grow. But I'm going to suggest that I would like you to bring those to us as either saying, I am willing to do this. Can we figure out how I can help you with this? Or come to us and say, I have an idea for a plan that I will help implement to get it done. It doesn't mean you have to do all the work, but bring us a plan or bring us your efforts. Don't just bring us your ideas. We are full of ideas. What we are missing are your efforts and your plans. So I'm not going to say you can never say to us, hey, I think the KLI should do this or should change in this way. But we're probably not going to react very strongly to that. We're probably going to say, oh yeah, that sounds good. We'll think about it. Because we don't have a place on our schedules to put that. So, and leading from that, I'm going to say we always are looking for volunteers that are willing to help us with all the things that we are doing. Take something off of our plates so that we can work on something else, or take something off of that list of things that we do want to get done, but just we can't get done. So, for instance, some of the things are, we are trying to scan the old issues of qurgh into digital format so that we can make them available for members, even though some of the issues, the hard copy issues, are no longer available. It does take a little time and effort, a little commitment. It's not terribly hard, but it's easy to say, oh, I can do that, and then you receive the materials from us, and then it never gets done. So we're always looking for more volunteers that will try to find time in their schedule to help with that. Who or how do they would need to contact us if we want volunteers?
It's going to be me at this point.
All right. So Chris can help you get the materials that need to be scanned. Chris can help you discuss whether you have the right equipment to do the scanning.
Well, we have them scanned. We have text versions of it, but we
need
help formatting all of that. So we have text scans of the actual bodies of them, but it's getting that to go from a plain text document to looking like something that people actually want to read and can, see, look like the originals kind of thing. So that's our big push, is to try to format them and make them look at least in a way that we can turn it into an ebook and publish it.
Okay, so yeah, not actually scanning them, but taking the scans and formatting them so it's consistent.
Pretty much.
All right, yeah, so if you are willing to take some time to do that, we can help you do that, and that takes some stuff off of our plate and get something done for you, the members. So we would appreciate that. Another one is the testing program, the KLCP testing. We love doing the testing. We would like to provide more opportunities for the testing. We need two types of assistance for testing. We need proctors and we need graders. Proctoring is easy. You just need to take the time to do it, either online or in person. And we can talk to you about what's involved in that. We would like to ask that you have at least passed KLCP 1 before you proctor, so that you have some idea what it is and how it goes and all that. But if you are willing to proctor, let us know, and maybe we can do a little more coordination of that.
Do you want to quickly define what proctoring is?
Oh, perhaps. If you don't know what proctoring is, I mean someone to get together with the people taking the tests, either online or in person. So online, it would be having the equipment and setting up the ability to monitor them over the equipment and to make sure they have access to the testing site. We are working with a testing site that has the tests in it. So each individual signs in on their computer to the testing site, but also makes themselves visible on video so that we can monitor them taking the test. And so that's
the same thing in real life.
That's what proctors like.
You just have to give them the test, have them do it, and collect it in. You don't have to grade it or anything like that.
Yeah. And it's really just the time, taking the time right then when the test is being given. The test is an hour, a little bit of setup maybe to make sure you have everything you need and make sure everybody will be comfortable and that they have everything they need. But basically maybe an hour and a half of time each time you proctor. So if you're willing to proctor, interested in proctoring, let us know. We also need people to grade the tests and review them with the students. That's a lot more involved. We will need to train you how to do that and make sure you understand what you're doing. That will take more time because you have to go over individual ones with students. For that, we ask that you have passed all 3 levels of KLCP. You cannot grade unless you have passed all 3 levels. So that's a smaller pool of you, but if you have passed all 3 levels, considering offering to go through that training and help us grade the tests and go over them with the students and things like that.
I was going to say, if you're in that situation, it doesn't have to be here. So it allows us to also expand how much testing we can hold. So there's lots of people out there who want to take our tests, but they can't come here. They might not have good digital access. But this way, you could go to a local sci-fi convention where you know there might be other Klingon speakers and hold a testing session there for them. So that it opens up a much wider opportunity to all of our members and the public that are interested in taking tests.
Yeah. And I suppose connected to that is also we would like to expand the KLCP course, the courses that we have online. We currently have a KLCP 1 course.
Created by Cove.
Yeah, created by Cove. It contains all of the vocabulary that's on that we require for KLCP1 and all of the grammar that we require for KLCP1. Duolingo does not claim that. Duolingo might be missing some vocabulary and some grammar that is on the KLCP1 test. So the online course that we have on the KLI website is complete for preparing for KLCP1, except for one problem: it does not have any audio. There are stories, a lot of it is told through comics. You learn the language through comics that are in the course. And it would be great to have audio available that people can hear the comic. They can hear the voices from the comic being read. And so there's some programming help we probably need with that.
We're going to need voice actors.
Yeah, but voice actors is the big thing we're going to need. And I know some of you have already done some voice acting for projects like Juliana, and some of you have already run some of the recording software and editing software and stuff like that. We're going to need all that. It's going to be very much like some of the audio programs you may have heard out there, but it'll be then attached to the course in a way that students doing the course can hear the Klingon that's in the course. And not just so this hasn't been well thought out or planned yet. I'm just announcing it.
Still in the planning stage. So if you're interested in any kind of part of this, contact me, I guess. Yeah.
Chris is in charge of all the computer stuff, so unfortunately that means he gets a lot of the. But our idea for a lot of these things is we may find a coordinator then who Chris will work with, and that coordinator will work with all the people. So Chris isn't working with 10 people on this project. Chris is working with one person on that project, and that person is working with 10 people. And then we would also like to create a level 2 course. We do not have a level 2 course complete yet, though I believe qurgh has started working, has at one point in the past started work on a level 2 course. So we have some beginnings to it, but it's not complete. We need to finish it. The level 2 exam, any of you who have taken it would know, the level 2 exam contains everything in TKD. So it's a bigger course, it's a longer course, it's a course that's got to contain a lot more vocabulary especially, but also introduce some new grammar and things like that. So it's a big and complex project, but if you would be interested in helping that, creating that KLCP2 course, then we can coordinate that. Again, we'll want someone who is going to coordinate the whole course that can work with Chris and the KLI Yejchad to Yejkuv to but yes, we don't have a target date for any of these since we have nobody actually working on any of them yet. That might be hard.
Yesterday.
We would we would yeah. I mean, I think once we have a coordinator, they can work with the people on the project and come up with an idea for a target date. At this point, it's a dream we'd like to happen, and I'm just calling for volunteers for it. But if it looks like the dream is starting to come together, then we can be more specific about it. And of course, after that, we would like to do a KLCP3 course as well.
And a 4.
Yeah, and a KLCP4 course, but before we do a KLCP4 course, we need to have a KLCP4 exam. So that's a different project.
Yeah.
All right.
Wait. We got.
Yeah.
So, given what you said about volunteer labor and not putting things on other people's plates, I will first make clear that this is not an idea so much as just a question. One thing that especially given how much new vocabulary we've gotten recently, it is becoming starker and starker that the KLCP1, especially, and KLCP2 as well, are very, very heavy on Star Trek words that you might not learn if you start learning Klingon in a more conversational context, like your friend drags you to qep'a, and you start talking and you learn and you start talking about things actually happening there rather than Star Trek things.
I feel like the KLCP1 vocabulary is limited to a set, not so much as this is saying these are a good bunch of words to learn, but more like this is what will be on the test and used on the test. No, so you have a kind of idea going in.
I don't let. Yeah.
Right. No, I understand that, but I would say that's a huge amount of work that is much bigger than just.
Yeah, that's why it's a question. That's
right.
why it's more of a question than a comment.
Right.
Is that like just I'm not even telling you, I'm telling you all, in case somebody wants to put time into this, it wouldn't be the end of the world. It wouldn't be a bad idea to think about ways in which the tests could more accurately reflect how the average newcomer actually progresses through the language.
Yeah, we have discussed perhaps completely redesigning KLCP, and that may happen at some point in the future. And if any of you have a plan you can lay out for us and are willing to coordinate that plan, we would certainly be willing to listen to that. Of course, yeah,
right.
well, or with an assumption that that's going to take a long time, and let's go ahead and get a KLCP course out there, knowing we probably will change it in the future. I saw a hand here first.
I was going to say, I'm just going to quick comment. The grammar that we're teaching in those courses is not, I don't think would change at this point, because. Right.
Those were the main, like when I was doing it was a little bit artificial, never using plurals, and it was kind of frustrating writing Klingon stories for going through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Jesse, did you have a question?
Just gone through that class. It wasn't heavily stilted towards Star Trek per se. I mean, we didn't even have a word for torpedo in that test. So, but we have gained a lot of vocabulary that might be more useful for day-to-day conversation. So I agree and I disagree. It doesn't feel like I just came up with a bunch of vocabulary that I can only use on a story.
And I feel like that the first level course isn't you. Did you limit it to just those 500 words, or did you use a spattering? Okay. Mm-hmm.
But you did limit it to the grammar that was in there, right? You don't have any grammar from KLCP2.
No,
Yeah,
some of the like this is the grammar you're supposed to use. Where like there's a lot of things that particular thing can do, and these are the ones I can do with the vocabulary I have, so I'll do those things.
Yeah.
Like completely cross-checked, but enough people have been through the system and done the exam that I would have got feedback by now.
Yeah. Yes, Pach.
Themselves need at least a minor refresh because there's some questions that are just it's like fill in the blank,
right,
lots of grammar, and if you don't know the one vocabulary word,
yeah,
questions on the test that are not formatted.
Yeah. So let me say that there is actually current ongoing work on adding some new questions and removing some bad questions. And so there is minor changes happening, but yeah. And
right,
so
well, to be to explain the situation, we lost access to DeArmond's original pool of questions, so we don't have that. We've been rebuilding it from scratch, and so the people who have been working on that have just completed the level 1 question bank and generating a new one, and we're working on getting that into the online system so that we can use it for testing. They're now moving on to the second level bank and are having to recreate all of those. And as they're going through it, they are taking out stuff like you're talking about, because they're like, okay, we shouldn't really be asking questions this way. It is getting updated, so that is actively happening right now. But if you have it, for sure.
So, but that's no changes to the vocabulary, no changes to the grammar. The guide for how to study is still the same guide for how to study, but some of the actual questions are being improved.
And what you're talking about, you want to update the actual question formats and the way that we're asking questions to better target the knowledge that we're trying to test for, as opposed to saying, hey, use this, and if they don't know a vocabulary word, they're out of luck, when they might even know what most of the concept is, but they misunderstand something and could have just given an answer, and you would have been like, well, I'm going to give you 3 points out of 5 for this because you understood what was going on, but just because you didn't know a word, you shouldn't be totally penalized. That situation.
Basically, I'd like to make a question with 5 points and have 5 elements to
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we will definitely pull you into that conversation.
Ethan, yeah.
I was just thinking that, I know that the conversation now is about tests, but I think that really the important part of the tests is more about the grammar things, because the vocabulary, yes, it's important to talk about things, but you can kind of get there without the test guiding you. You're going to pick up those words that you need for general conversation, and this way it's also forcing you to pick up other words that you need in general conversation. And regardless of what the vocabulary word is, the grammar surrounding it is kind of what you really need to be able to have a conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way the test is designed now even sort of does that. If you're just getting a vocabulary mistake, there's ways to get a good number of points on that question. Maybe it would only be 1 point off if the only problem is you didn't know that word, except there are some questions where the only way to get the points is by knowing that one word. So yeah, there's some consideration of that going on. There's some changes happening to try and improve that.
There's lots of room for improvement.
Yeah.
There's always room for improvement.
Yeah, and because we are recreating the database on our own and with our own materials and stuff, we have the possibility that when graders are giving feedback to the testers, And if the testers give feedback about that question, we'll be able to say, oh, no, that we didn't realize how bad that question is. That's another one we need to change or improve or just remove or something like that. So in recreating the database, we'll now have, again, rather than over the last decade or so, we've just had paper copies that we've been duplicating. Now we have an actual database we can edit as we go along.
We can resurrect it into a living, breathing organism that can change over time as opposed to the stagnate that we kind of have right now.
Yeah. So, all right, let me move on to the next volunteer opportunity I'd like to offer you. And that is, some of you may have noticed that the KLI web pages have a new word page, which some people even still say you have the complete vocabulary if you have TKD with the addendum, KGT, and the new word page on the KLI. Except the new word page is 3 years out of date, 4 years out of date.
It is a little out of date, yeah.
It's considerably out of date. And so we're trying to create a volunteer pool that can work on that. And we're not asking for one volunteer to update it to today, but we're asking volunteers to work on small portions of it to get it updated. So if you're willing to volunteer for that, Runchue is the main contact for that, but if you contact any of us, we'll make sure.
It's me.
Yeah.
It's always.
Why would we just be reading from the booklet database?
Because we don't, A, we don't control that. B, Bochwit does stuff that we may not want to take liberties on. Bochwit makes claims that we may not have actual proof that are true. Bochwit has comments in it that have little notations on them saying, we're not quite sure about it. Like, there's lots of stuff in there that we don't want to have. We want to have our own separate list that Bochwit can come to and go, oh, okay, this is the source. Tends to be, otherwise it's going to be referential, because Bochwit is going to say, we got this word from the new word list, and the new word list is going to say, we got this from Bochwit. And that's not a good situation to be in. There needs to be separate lists.
And
so
maybe,
you have checks and balances.
Maybe Chris knows more about how that is being done, but it may be that Bochwit could in some way, the Bochwit database could in some way be useful in making sure we've got everything, or copying and pasting some and then deleting anything we don't want. I don't know. That's for the volunteers in that project to all coordinate amongst themselves.
And a lot of the KLI made that
But
list was used to create Bochwit.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. They're all on the website.
Right. And so a lot of what's being done, I think a couple people are already working on it. And what I believe has been done, though don't quote me on the specifics, is that when someone volunteers, they're told, okay, go look for the pamphlet from 2021, and please make that into a list that we can import onto the website. But rather than Chris having to go and do that for each of those PDFs, we're assigning them to people to take care of. And that's why we need volunteers. All right. So next topic, that was Chris. Oh, I think he got an important text. Never mind. Actually, except that the UN letter, what's going on with the UN letter? Can you come talk about it? Do you need me to go back there while you come talk about it?
Maybe. So
come stand in front of the camera.
Okay, let me get this. Let me fish this letter out. So let's see. Was this last year sometime? Michael Lubetsky, is how you pronounce this? Lubetsky, am I pronouncing that correctly? Headed a project to translate the Universal Declaration of Human Rights into Klingon. It took us a few months to get them to accept it, but they did finally accept it, and now have it listed on their website. I'm not sure if the translation is on their website, but they sent us a nice letter accepting our translation of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Yes. And we have it on our website as well, so you can view the translation along with a copy of the letter. But this is a long path to get to, and it was very much a lot of work by a lot of very skilled Klingon speakers to get this translated and to get it accepted. So that was a big win for us over the last year.
Yeah,
for sure.
And then stay here.
So So yeah, I want to thank everybody involved. I don't remember all the names, unfortunately, it's not listed on there. But yeah, lots of people did a lot of good work.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna go back there and see if they need help. You want to do that? Take care of this.
Sure, I'll take care of this. So we have some people who took, talking about KLCP, we had a few people who took the course, took the class tests. I'll get there eventually, and passed. So I'm going to ask folks to come up here. Yep. Let me have a look at the right pins here. So, qep'a.
Keep the one thing. So do we want to take a moment after the picture to get everything set up?
Successfully passed the level 1. Congratulations. qep'a. Chatna. Successfully passed level 2. Congratulations. Online, Katong also passed level 2. Here, Everett passed level 2. Congratulations. qep'a. And then, very impressive, passed level 3, Mike Clapp. Congratulations.
Large clap.
Do you have anything else?
I don't have anything else.
Or was it revoked?
It's not on my list.
Alan,
Alan?
I'm sure you did. If you were told you passed, I'm sure.
Alan? Oh, I'm sorry.
It was not revoked.
It was not revoked. So one more, level 1. Mikhe. Sorry about that.
Yeah. This was the result of not having enough volunteers working. Yeah.
Oh.
I failed my level 2 test, everyone.
So that. All right. So that's most of what we had to say, but I would like to invite Lawrence, who of course for decades and decades ran this all on his own, talking about us needing more volunteers. So I'd like to give Lawrence a chance to make some announcements of his own. This is for the online people. Yeah,
Right.
Can I turn this, Chris?
You sure can.
I'm talking to you. I'll keep this very short because it's not directly related to the KLI. Many of you know that I've been very, very ill. Technically, I should be dead several times over. I don't know why I'm not. I say the universe isn't done with me. One of the reasons I'm not dead is because of an organization called the National Marrow Donor Program. I have somebody else's bone marrow. He doesn't want it back. He can't have it back. In the past 5 years, I've had 2 kinds of blood cancer, and because of this miraculous gift, I don't have either cancer anymore. So in theory, as my body recovers from the ravages of all the poisons thrown at it in the past 5 years, I should get better and better, and I no longer have a shelf life, so to speak. It's a very strange feeling. So the bone marrow people asked me if I could help them, and I said, yeah, okay. So I have information about them. I have test swab kits here where you can swipe your cheeks and get your DNA and send it off in the mail today. And if you want interested in either of those, come see me. I'll be sitting here as long as I can tonight. And even if you don't want to do any of that, come see me, and I will give you a shiny orange ribbon enamel pin, orange for leukemia, because Klingons like pins, you know. And it's really good still being here, and that's all I wanted to say.
All right, that's the end of the State of the KLI speech.